A little bit of planning, 3 simple recipes, and only limited time in the kitchen. I think we've got ourselves a winning formula. The following are 3 healthy recipes that I keep in my back pocket that save me during busy weeks. You know, the days when you finish work super late, come home very hungry, but without any energy to cook. These are my SOS meals. I really like setting aside about 2 hours on a Sunday, prepping a bunch of food for the week ahead, because once Monday starts, it just feels like a whirlwind, and then we're back at the weekend, and I don't really know, down is up is down. It's busy. I finish my work days generally around 9 or 9:30 at night, and I don't have the energy to put together a good meal, so days like today, food prep days like today, save my ass during the week. So, on our menu today is a big batch of meatballs. I'm going to keep half fresh in the fridge that we can use tonight for dinner and tomorrow night. I'm gonna make some salmon patties, same thing, half fresh, half frozen. And I have a batch of high protein brownies that's going right now. If I can make a protein-rich base, then the rest of the meal is quite easy to throw together, whether it's a side of toast or complex carbs like sweet potato or potato, quinoa, or just some quick sauteed veggies. That part is easy to sort. It's generally the protein that I have less bandwidth for throughout the week. Enter Sunday food prep. The first recipe in today's prepathon is a semi-sweet snack, protein-packed sweet potato brownies. These were inspired by an American creator, Tessa Smith, who made them with pumpkin puree, which sounds delicious, but it's also very hard to come by here in Europe. So instead, I swapped some scraggly sweet potatoes I found in my cupboard, and the brownies turned out great. The recipe also calls for some potent players like collagen powder, protein powder, cacao, and peanut butter. They turned out fudgy from the peanut butter, and not overly sweet, as I only used maple syrup to sweeten them. I brought a few of them into the studio to share with the staff, and they gave them a big thumbs up. Happy bellies all around. I've linked to the original recipe down below. Enjoy! If you're serious about nutrition and want to stretch your dollar at the same time, I recommend you invest in a few kitchen items. For less than $200, you can buy a few kitchen essentials that will completely transform your meal prep game. And the first thing that I recommend nearly every home cook to buy, or really anyone that I meet, is a crock pot. And at this point, I feel a little bit like a broken record because I've recommended it to so many people. It's really that awesome. One, it's super affordable, but it's also great for beginner cooks because the margin of error is quite large, which means that you can leave it unattended, it's safe, for either 3 hours or 6 hours, depending on your schedule for the day. So if you are weary about leaving the appliance unattended at home for a few hours, I totally understand. There are newer models that have a timed function that once it reaches the desired consistency or time that you set, it will just turn the food to a very low simmer, reducing the risk of burning down the house, or actually eliminating it entirely, as long as you do eventually come home. And the other 2 kitchen items that I'd like to give a shout out to today have to deal with food storage. So for keeping food fresh in the fridge, I prefer to use glass, but for freezer items, I think silicone is best. That's just my humble opinion. Both are also dishwasher friendly, and easy cleanup is my favorite kind of cleanup. These few items are definitely enough to start you off well on the right foot, though if you're looking to make your kitchen setup a bit more robust, then make sure you check out my curated Amazon lists linked down below. All right, let's get back to cooking, shall we? The main priority for this prep was protein. Life during the week is made so much easier when I have quality protein sources to build a dish around. With that main part sorted, it's simple to throw together a side of veggies or complex carbs. First up on our weekly food prep is herb-infused salmon patties. This was a recipe I discovered a few weeks back in an attempt to diversify protein sources and also find something that would freeze well. Thank goodness for the interwebs, because within 30 seconds of searching, I found many delicious variations of a salmon patty. These are easy and affordable to make and can be adapted to your taste buds. I chose to incorporate fresh sage and thyme because we have it in our garden, but I think dill and cilantro would also work well. Don't forget to add salt, pepper, and chili flakes if you like your burgers with a bit of a kick. I recommend seasoning at each step for maximum flavor. Like most meatball or patty recipes, you will need some kind of binding agent. Here I used 2 eggs and a form of breadcrumb. It can be panko, gluten-free, sourdough, really whatever you fancy. Once you've combined all the ingredients in a bowl, simply form the patties into a hamburger shape and store. I froze about half of the batch to use at a later date, and we ate 6 fresh throughout the week. When dinner time, or hunger, strikes, heat 2 patties per person in the pan, make a side of veggies, and serve with a few sauces. The salmon burgers can be paired with a bun, or simply eaten as is. I've also found them to be a great pescatarian option for summertime barbecues. And while the official on-paper goal for today is food prep to make things for the week, another big reason of why I'm here, why I spend so much time on a Sunday in the kitchen, is because it relaxes me. As I said, it's my calm place. I really enjoy being here, letting my mind turn off. I don't have to think too much, and my hands just go about creating something beautiful and nourishing for the week for myself and my husband. And over the last few months, I have been reading a lot of food blogs online, trying to push my culinary bounds, if you will, to learn new techniques like pickling, and I've been baking a lot with sourdough, which has been a learning process for sure, because it's not something that it requires things that don't necessarily come naturally to me, like patience. With sourdough in particular, it's a nice place to hone those kinds of skills like patience and repetition, because the stakes are pretty low. If you mess up a bread, it's not the end of the world. You can repurpose it for breadcrumbs or to use in another dish. And so it's been a really nice just opportunity the last few months to be in the kitchen and try something that's completely different from my day job of training people. Next on our meal prep list is a classic, meatballs. This recipe has been a staple in our house for years because they're delicious, they're so quick to throw together, and highly versatile. You can serve the meatballs on top of pasta, in a salad, or even laid atop a creamy yogurt base as an elevated kind of tapas. The possibilities are endless. For the base, I prefer to use a beef and pork blend, as the fattiness from the pork gives them a bit more flavor and prevents the beef from drying out too much. But if you prefer not to use pork, then I would recommend adding more shredded cheese to the mixture before cooking. Like the salmon patties, you will add 2 eggs, spices of choice. Here I used fresh sage, basil, salt, pepper, and smoked paprika, breadcrumbs, and grated cheese. I didn't use exact measurements, but you're looking for a mixture that will hold together and is a bit moist. Once you have thoroughly combined everything, it's time to make some balls. You can use an ice cream scoop or big spoon to keep the balls uniform, but I recommend making them no larger than the size of a golf ball. It may take a bit more time to make many small balls, but it will speed up cook time and make presentation more fun. Think about the size of meatball you would want on top of your pasta or salad, and use that as a guide. Once you have all of your meatballs rolled out, portion out the number you want to keep fresh for the week, and the other portion destined for the freezer. If you do plan to freeze a batch, I found it to be smart to put the fresh balls on a plate straight into the freezer for half an hour to firm up. This makes it easier to transport them to a storage container later on. One more thing I'm going to make today is a universal tomato sauce. I would like to call it a pasta sauce, but I don't want to limit it. I don't want to pigeonhole it. So I'm going to roast up some tomatoes with a bunch of spices, some garlic, onion, olive oil, pretty standard stuff that I can use for the base of the meatballs, but I can also throw on top of pasta or just as a dipping sauce for whatever. When you're ready to eat, brown the meatballs first in a heavy bottom skillet with a touch of butter or olive oil. Add your sauce of choice and serve with whatever your heart desires. As an example, on the night of this meal prep, I cut up 1 yellow zucchini and a handful of Swiss chard and sauteed that in the skillet until softened. Then I added a bit of the freshly made tomato sauce along with some Parmesan cheese and arugula. And once the sauce had reached a thick consistency, I finished cooking the meatballs inside. This made for a perfect colorful topping to some thick rigatoni pasta. Paired with a full-bodied red wine and enjoyed in the company of my loving husband, it was a great way to end a long day in the kitchen. Bon appetit! And to round out our meal prep for today's video, we've got a crunchy, tangy chicken salad. I actually bought 2 rotisserie chickens. One of them I just finished taking apart. I'm going to use this chicken meat to make a chicken salad, putting a bunch of yummy things inside. And the other one I'm going to separate, take the carcass out like that one, and use the shredded chicken in a soup tomorrow. But with these 2 chickens, I have a big batch of chicken salad, 2 rounds of chicken stock, and then shredded chicken for another soup. That's pretty good. It's always nice to have a bit of crunch in the salad, so this time I cut up some celery and sprinkled in some slivered almonds, but I think capers or walnuts would also work well. Slivered almonds for a little bit of crunch in addition to the celery because crunch is satisfying. To make it extra creamy, I added roughly 3 tablespoons of mayo, 2 tablespoons of grain mustard, and about a half a cup of skyr, though you can also use Greek yogurt, to the chicken mixture. This is a good enough chicken salad as is, but to make it that extra bit delicious, I add fresh lemon juice, flaky sea salt, and a handful of raisins. If you're not one of those people that likes to mix salty and sweet, I totally get it, but why not try it? Why not try it? A few more almonds. Voila. The salty, sweet, tangy combo is one of my favorites. Later that day, I threw the leftover chicken bones, along with some scraggly vegetables and chunks of ginger, into my slow cooker to make a strong broth. You know the drill at this point. Half of the broth stayed fresh in the fridge to cook up rice or quinoa during the week, and I froze the other half into silicone cubes for a later date.